hey, you may not feel like you are like everybody else. That's okay. Keep pushing forward. See where the road will lead. You may not feel like you're perfect, but that doesn't mean you can't be who you want to be. I am Staff Sergeant Christina Coble, and the warrior next to me inspires me.
Hey guys, welcome to Build Today. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you everybody that's tuning into our live stream. We have an amazing show today. We're going to talk about a very important group of individuals and an activity that they have going on starting just 1 week from today. We're talking about Warrior Games. So the Warrior Games will be in and around Tampa, Florida, starting on June 21st and running to June 30th. What I love about the Warrior Games is that this year the hashtag is Be Inspired. And so we hope that all of you who are watching us, you who are present with us here today, you are inspired. We want you to be inspired to go out there and to engage with our wounded warrior community. We want you to be inspired to find ways in your own community where you can actually help those that are wounded warriors and the disabled. And finally, we really want you to be inspired to attend the Warrior Games if you're in and around Tampa next week, or tune into the live stream, which will also be made available. So I'm Peter Vanderloo, and I'm here with the Valor Group. Valor is Verizon Media's employee resource group for veterans. And we want to thank Suzanne Lindberg and the entire Build Studio for giving us this opportunity to tell this great story, to host this just amazing panel today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Colonel Harbaugh. So Colonel Harbaugh, welcome, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Honored to be with you.
I would love if you could tell us a little bit about what is your role and how did you get involved in the Warrior Games?
I've been the director of the Warrior Care Program for United States Special Operations Command for a little over 5 years. So this is my 6th Warrior Game. And every year, the 5 Warrior Care Programs of the Department of Defense, the 4 traditional services as we know them, even though the Marine Corps is not a service, it's part of the Department of Navy, but they're one of the 4 that we think of. I'm just saying that for you because I know you're a Marine. And then the Special Operations Program, which is also recognized by Congress and the Department of Defense. Special Operations has borne a significant burden of the last 18 years of war, has a significant number of wounded warriors. In fact, we're the largest program of the Department of Defense with numbers still serving on active duty. So those programs have every year fielded teams, a part of the Warrior Games, and I've been part of that. And when it was our turn, because we've been rotating for the past 5 years through all of those Warrior Care programs to run the games, to host the games, it was Special Operations Command's turn, and we were, really excited about doing it. So I'm the director of the DoD Warrior Games for this year.
And you did actually something very unique this year that's only been done one other time before, right? You went into the community.
That's correct. We wanted to do something special with our game. We also knew that when we brought it to the Tampa Bay area, we were bringing it to a community that was built for support. It's a generous community. It's amazingly embracing of active duty and veterans and their families. We just knew that when we brought it into the community setting that we would have a really great outcome from the standpoint of public support. One of the things we've always struggled with Warrior Games is getting the public out to it to understand what the games are about, be able to showcase these amazing athletes, these service members. 70% of the athletes that are out there on the field of play are still on active duty, and they're dealing with that through whatever debilitation they have. They're still continuing to compete, but they're also continuing to serve. And this guy, he just going through retirement, but he's still technically on active duty. Brian's still on active duty. They want to continue to serve despite the debilitations they have. And the Warrior Games is an opportunity to showcase it. But we struggle in being able to get the public out. So we felt bringing it into the community setting. Navy tried that in Chicago. Chicago is such a big city, kind of got lost in the clutter a little bit. They still had a great game. But we wanted to bring it into the setting where we knew we would have public, that really kind of poured out for it. And that's what we're anticipating. We're hopeful. We're doing a lot of media, obviously, with you. One of those places that we're doing it to try and inspire people to get out there and be inspired by watching these athletes.
For sure. So actually what's interesting to me also is that this is an international game.
That is correct. Each year we've started to add a little more international flavor to it. The Invictus Games, many people are familiar with. That's Prince Harry's foundation. Started the Invictus game actually off of the Warrior Games. Harry came out to our 2013 games, saw it, and said, we need to do something like this on the international level. And Invictus has already had 4 runnings. I've been at all of those because part of Team US is also Team SOCOM. So I've been involved with those and fielding teams for those. But this one, we wanted to add a few more teams to it. We had always had the UK kind of as a reciprocity aspect, then we slowly added Australia, and then Canada, and then this year we added the Netherlands and Denmark, 2 of the 5 now foreign partner teams. That's 100 additional athletes to the 200 because the 5 programs field 40-person teams, and then there's 100 international athletes that'll be competing.
Fantastic. And I understand that you guys continue to expand the different sports that are held as part of Warrior Games?
We do, and with that, we added a few days to the games. We had to because we had more competition. It's putting a little more strain on some of these guys. I think DT's like our decathlete this year. I think he's doing like 12 events or something.
Nice.
We added sports. Some that we'd seen used in Invictus that we knew were very, very popular with the Wounded Warriors. We added wheelchair tennis this year. We added wheelchair rugby, incredibly popular with the Wounded Warriors because it's a very competitive game. It's also a very energetic game. And in fact, when you see these guys in these tricked out wheelchairs with a Mad Max grill on the front of them bashing into each other, if anybody thinks that a Wounded Warrior has gotten shy about being physical, they need to come and watch. So they're going to see some real athletic kind of endeavor there with a lot of energy and a willingness to try to kill your opponent, okay? Not really, not literally, but get out there and really take it to them. So wheelchair rugby, we added the games, and also we added golf. Golf's been an Invictus sport now for a couple of rotations, and golf is one of those sports. We want sports that the Wounded Warriors can play lifelong. Golf is also available in every little town and burg of the nation, so an ability to have something you can pick up, and golf is also very social. And one of our concerns when it comes to sports for our Wounded Warriors is a sport that gets them connected. Because we talk about fighting veteran suicide, we talk about suicide even in our active duty population. We're trying to stop that. You know, the numbers that are out there are not necessarily, they're more urban legend, but just one suicide's too many. Of
course.
And we're struggling to fight that. And there's behavioral health counseling, crisis lines, and lots of available tools for people to reach out, but that's when they're in crisis. The way to keep them from crisis, to keep them from the deep, dark holes, is to have them connected. So we're looking at using sport as a way to keep them connected, to build the buddy system, the social system, that then when they're feeling kind of lonely or feeling kind of in a despair state, they're reaching out to somebody. And if you've got guys you go out and golf with, or you cycle with, or you do other sports with, you've got buddies to reach to when you're in a time of need. And that's one of the reasons why we really want to expand adaptive sports. We want to expand sport and its access to our Wounded Warriors. I don't even like calling it adaptive, because most of these guys are able to play it straight up. They just have to do little things. We got DT out golfing just a couple months ago. He hadn't golfed. We put him in, they got him some really cool gloves, and he was hitting it in typical Wounded Warrior fashion. DT's out there, he's playing with a Green Beret, because he's a special ops guy too. So he's playing with a Green Beret, Dave, who's cutting him no slack, and giving him a hard time when he hits a bad shot. And DT's like going, F you, man. You're doing it with hands, okay? I kind of missing fingers here. I got gloves strapped to a golf club. It's that kind of dynamic. And really, that crosses all the adaptive sports. You see so much collaboration, commiseration, trash talking. It's so much fun, and they really, really blossom in that environment, and they heal in that environment.
I would expect nothing less, so thank you, Colonel. I'm going to come back and talk to you. I want to talk to Brian a little bit now. So, Brian, you're one of the athletes. What events are you going to be participating in during Warrior Games?
I'll be doing wheelchair basketball, sitting volleyball, wheelchair rugby, tennis, and archery.
Wow. So now you obviously have to do a lot of preparation, right, to do well at those. That takes a lot of time.
I believe my coaches are watching. Yes, I had to do lots of preparation. But no, in all seriousness, to succeed and to give the best effort that you can, yes, lots of preparation, lots of practice. It sometimes gets difficult with the responsibilities of home and work, but you find the time to make it happen.
Well, I think you said something that was eye-opening to me, right? You still have a day job. I mean, you're wearing a uniform, right?
Yes, sir.
So you have to do your day job in the Air Force and train for this. How do you find the time to balance and do all that? What keeps you motivated when you're putting those long hours in?
It's definitely the good part of my day. When I start off doing that, waking up at dark 30 and getting into the gym when no one else is there, so I don't have to fight for court time. But my supervisors, my chief commander, they're all really supportive, knowing what's to come, and they're going to actually be there too. So it's with having that support system, it just makes it easier. It's just having the willpower to get up and to do it is the thing that you can't buy. You have to do that your own.
Yeah. Well, you clearly have scads of willpower, right? I mean, you've been a fighter, right? And you continue to be a fighter, and I love that. At one point, in fact, you had to fight to stay on active duty in the Air Force, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Lots of work, it had to go all the way up to Secretary of the Air Force for that to happen. And Secretary James's counsel and her were able to make that happen. And in 2016, when she was giving us the gold medal for volleyball, I made sure to give my gold medal to her just to let her know how much I appreciated her support, because without her, who knows what would have been done at that point in time. I was in a good spot at that point. I mean, I had a job and I knew what I was doing every day. I had to re-enlist and everything. I got to re-enlist in August, as a matter of fact. It's a good problem to have. So, yes, without the support, I mean, I don't do this on my own. I got to get up out of bed. Yes, that's like the only thing. I mean, my wife could probably kick me out of bed. But other than that, it's the willpower and just having the support of great supervisors, the chiefs, commanders. Yes.
So I love that. So you gave your gold medal back to Secretary James as a way to say thank you for the support, for letting me be here.
Yes, sir, absolutely. It was easy. She didn't want it. I said, no, please take it, because this is basically your gold medal. Like, without you, I don't know where I would be. So you're the reason why I'm here right now on this podium getting this gold medal.
Great. I'd love you to share a little bit about your story. So can you tell us a little bit about how you were wounded and what your wounds are? Because when we're looking at you now, they're not obvious. And that's true with a lot of wounded warriors. Their wounds are not necessarily visible. Yours are visible when you're not in uniform, but I'd love to share the story.
So in 2012, I was 12 years in at that point in time. I was attached to an Army unit as a military working dog handler. And we were searching a compound, known Taliban compound, and I set my dog up a set of stairs, went in a room, didn't come out, so I went up the stairs to go retrieve him, and halfway up a blast went off. Instantly lost my left leg, teeth were missing, compound fracture in my wrist, TBI. All those things occurred in April 2012. And the recovery process started after that. I was in the hospital about a year and a half, and then I requested to go back to work in October 2013.
So that you're describing it in fairly clinical terms, but it was a pretty traumatic moment for you and pretty impactful on your body. But
it was. I mean, I didn't wake up that morning expecting anything to happen. I was expecting to go out there and clear the route for everybody else. I just never saw it happening, but it did. And I was fortunate that summer. There was a few other handlers that got injured after me that didn't make it. So when given the opportunity to stay in, I thought I had a choice. So I had a choice, so therefore I'm gonna take the opportunity to stay in when given that opportunity, because there's other people that didn't have that.
Sure. So that was the beginning of a new story, a new phase in your life, right? Being able to participate in the Warrior Games and to enter a new aspect of service.
Yes, sir, because, I mean, when I was in the hospital, I was reading about those same games that DT were in, and I was like, how come no one's asking me to take part? I think I foot the bill. But I was still recovering at that point, so after I was returned to duty, when given the first opportunity to go to a camp to try these sports out and eventually make the team, I took part in it at that point in time. That was the right time. I wasn't trying to juggle two things at once. I did receive a phone call once or twice while I was still in the hospital. I said, let me focus on one thing at a time.
Got it.
So it was a new opportunity to go out and showcase. And like you said, sir, I always wonder what my why is. I mean, there's a few whys. But one of the things is I put this uniform on, no one bats an eye. They just see a person standing up, you know. And then I'm walking around, maybe I'm having an off day or my alignment's off because I have an alignment I have to worry about. I sound like a car all of a sudden. So I'm walking and, you know, people will make comments or ask questions. Some could be considered ignorant, some are just uneducated, whatever you want to call it. So then, you know, I decided to start having fun with it. So they asked me a question, and I just start, you know, swinging my leg around like I'm the guys. And it was all fun and good, so literally almost gave a woman a heart attack, so I kind of calmed down. So it's, people don't know. They rightfully assumed, just like when I was fighting to stay in, they rightfully assumed that you are done. I mean, that's what they said. Your career's over with. But it was trailblazers like this fine gentleman right here, and so many other people that chose to stay in, to where my path wasn't. There was roadblocks, but I had too many people supporting me in order to prevent that. So here we are today.
That's awesome. So there you stayed in. You're winning gold. You're doing some amazing things. I want to just touch on one kind of neat thing too. You mentioned the day that you were injured, you had a dog with you.
I did.
Tell us about the dog. What happened to the dog?
He was stuck in that room for about 2 hours from what they told me, and they had to spider crawl up the wall. They weren't going back up the steps. They got him out, and he was still 6 years old, so they put him back to work. That's what was supposed to happen. And then just one random day, I asked my base commander what's the odds of me adopting him. He made a phone call, and then the phone started ringing. And that went all the way up to Secretary of the Air Force as well. At that point, it was Secretary Donnelly. And his last act before stepping down was to adopt Carly to me. So he went home with me. He's 12 years old now. He's at home chilling.
Fantastic. Where does Carly like to hang out?
He likes to hang out with me upstairs as I'm playing my Xbox, beating up little kids at Madden.
Awesome, Brian. Thank you for sharing that. So, Jim, you know, you provided very interesting perspective here, right? You, of course, have for a long, long time been a huge supporter of the military, huge supporter of wounded warriors. And yet I think you also are kind of able to help a lot of us who maybe hadn't heard about Warrior Games before, hadn't attended Warrior Games, maybe don't even know Wounded Warrior. How do we engage and interact with this community?
Wow, where do you even start? It's the most inspiring thing. Well, I met the colonel back at West Point's Warrior Games a few years back, and just what a time. I mean, you talk about becoming inspired. I mean, look at these guys, for God's sake. These guys are like amazing. I mean, wheelchair rugby, he was mentioning. The first time wheelchair rugby was right before I met the colonel. That was at Invictus that we talked
Invictus
about.
2014?
Yes, down in Orlando.
Yep.
And I practiced with the American team the night before they won a gold medal. Let me tell you something. These guys knocked they knocked the crap out of you all over. I mean, I'm on this wheelchair. I come home. I have blisters all over my hands. My wife goes, "What's that from?" Gee, these guys are just absolutely, it's just inspiring. I mean, if you never attended the Warrior Games, anybody close to Tampa, you got to get there. 21st to the 30th, the most inspiring time you're going to have. I'm telling you, it's just, look, I'm hooked. I'm hooked forever with this, you know?
And you have a magic way to break through to service members, and particularly those that are suffering maybe traumatic brain injury or PTSD. Can you give us a quick demonstration, a little discussion?
I've been an entertainer most of my life, and the last, I'd say about maybe 14 years of my life, I got into memory, because when I was turning 50, I was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy and an enlarged heart. I had like the heartbeat of a 93-year-old man. And I'm like, wow, what do I do now? I have 4 kids at home. I started doing this exercise bike, and I started memorizing things on the bike to keep from being bored, not knowing it was going to turn into what it is now. I mean, like 80,000 zip codes, 70,000 digits of pi. I mean, I memorized a crap load of stuff. And what had happened was when I turned 60, I went to the doctor, and my cardiomyopathy and my enlarged heart it was completely reversed. I was like healthy. I'm like, this is amazing. So I started going down to Walter Reed, and I met Elaine Rogers, the president and CEO of USO Metro, and I started going down there every week and setting up classes. And I went beyond the entertainment. I started helping the Wounded Warriors with their memory issues, all right? And I'll give you a little demonstration later, but yeah, I mean, what really inspired me is the one guy, Brett. He comes up to me, "Mr. Karol, could I take your course?" I said, "Sure." Why do you even ask? He goes, "Well, the doctors told me there's no hope for my memory." First of all, wrong thing to say. Look, this is all about positive energy, exercising your brain and body. I mean, anybody could cure anything. Just put your mind to it. So he comes out to the class. First thing I did was teach him how to count a deck of cards. All right, because we all love that. How to, talking about self-esteem. Oh my gosh. So the following session, he comes back. I take a card out of the deck after I shuffle them. I go, "Here you go, Brett. You got 1 minute to look through the deck to tell me what card I have." I swear I'm not lying. 44 seconds later, Brett goes, "Mr. Karol, that's the 2 of hearts." no doctor's going to tell me his memory is shot, trust me. And that, I gave him a big hug, and that's why I'm all about this. This is what I do. I just want to share what I have, and I got involved with this, and I'm here to stay.
I love
You
that.
got to come out. Oh, these games are amazing. The best thing they could do, I'm telling you, for the brain and the body. This is the inspiration, self-esteem.
For sure.
Very rugged competition, I got to say, especially this dude right here.
Well, let's talk about this dude right here. So you are one of my personal heroes. I mean, you too, Brian, right? All the Wounded Warriors are. And, you know, I think one of my favorite lines, I've read a lot about you and looked a lot about stuff, you know, the day you were injured, you had that great quote when the medevac helicopter came to pick you up, right? You had clearly been burned over 80% of your body. Despite that, you had called in air support because there was a firefight going on. You were still in the fight, and then they said, it's time for you to leave. What did you say when they said, we're going to carry you to the helicopter?
Oh, they wanted to carry me, and I was like, oh, hell no. I was like, I walked into this fight, I'm going to walk out of it. And I hobbled to the helicopter, got on it, because I wasn't going to let them carry me.
You have an amazing amount of reserves of just positive energy. I mean, I looked at your life story. You have had a tough life pretty much the whole way. Your parents passed away when you were fairly young. You were responsible for your younger siblings, right? You were the oldest one and taking care of them.
Yes, sir. Yeah, for a long time, I thought I was cursed. Because anytime I had a high, I get knocked right back down. And I did for a long time. It's like, why is this happening to me? And you know, now I see it as maybe, you know, the big man upstairs had a plan and getting me prepared for my truly big challenge was going to be December 4th, 2005, when I got hit and trying to overcome that major obstacle.
And it wasn't just, that day, right? There was a long period of recovery, rehabilitation. Talk to us how that period was for you. Was it an easy period or a hard period?
Well, you know, do you have bad times? Do you have times when you're down? Yes. You know, I went from a 200-pound muscle head to 115 pounds. You know, people see this now and think, oh, that's not too bad. This is after 130 plus procedures I've had on my body. But, you know, it was hard. But in my head, when I woke up from my coma and the doctors gave me that diagnosis, like, hey, you're probably never going to walk again. You're going to be on a respirator the rest of your life. You know, your military career is pretty much over, and you'll still be in the hospital for another year and a half. You know, I probably can't repeat the colorful words I told them, but I pretty much told them they can go to hell.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to accept that. You know, I've never accepted anything that someone has told me. You know, from, you know, growing up without parents at the age of 14 and on the south side of Chicago. You know, according to the experts, I should be a gangbanger drug dealer. Wasn't. You know, then, you know, going to school and being told, hey, maybe you should go into a junior college. There's nothing wrong with a junior college. I was like, no. And come back with a full academic scholarship to the University of Illinois and slam it on my counselor's desk and tell him to F off. You don't realize I went to a private school, so that my counselor was a priest. So I was in detention for a month, but it was so worth it. But, you know, so I wasn't going to accept that. So after they told me that, you know, 2 months after that, I was told that, I left that hospital walking and breathing on my own. But I was able to do that because I had friends. I had my teammates. I had my family that came and not only support me, but my family. Because sometimes I always like bringing it back to the family. Because yes, it's important what happens to the service members that, you know, but the family they're at your worst. They're the ones being told, hey, we're only giving him a 15% chance to live. Hey, you got to make the decision on amputating body parts. You know, they're the ones going through that. They're the ones seeing you being skinned alive as myself, as a burn patient, because it's not the burns that kills you, it's the infection, so they literally skin you alive. So they're seeing all that. And to be able to have my friends and my teammates from all parts of the country, parts of the world, from Army, Navy, Marines, being there not only for me, but for my family, is amazing. That's how I got through it. You know, that and my docs. And since then, you know, I've chosen to I guess, give it back, because I saw that the people were there for me. Now I can be there for these guys, and that's what I did. I became a big patient advocate to help change policy, because our policies were very outdated. It's great to be a trailblazer, yes, but it's also a pain in the ass, because you're making changes that's never been happening to, and you do it because, yes, was I hurt, wounded? Yes, but I was still an NCO in the Air Force. I still had a job to do, and as any leader, your job is to make things better for those who follow, even though you may not see it ever. And that's what I did, and that's what I continue to do now.
Well, so you mentioned, yeah, thank you. So you mentioned being a trailblazer. And one of the things I think is interesting is that you were the first Air Force technician with 100% disability to be re-enlisted. So I understand that because I'm a veteran. But
Right.
So could you explain what that means and why that's important?
Throughout my journey, so I got to re-enlist finally back in February 2010, and I got hurt for December 2005. So for 5 years, I was going through getting stronger, doing stuff, and people always will come up to me, why do you want to keep doing this? Why do you want to continue to serve? Because you can get out, DT, you've been speaking now, you can make so much money as a public speaker, and I look into it, yes. Public speaker can make from $10,000 to $20,000 a speech, but it was never about money. I love my job. I love serving my country. I love being an airman. I love being in the military. So why do I want to give that up? There's millions of people out there that are making great money and hating their job. So why do I want to give up the job that I truly love? I love being a service member. So I fought. I continued to fight, and of course, was there obstacles? Yes. Were there people to say you couldn't do this? Yes. Did I go prove them wrong? Yes. And like I said, February 2010, I became the first 100% disabled airman ever to re-enlist.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, we're getting near the end of our time, so I'd love to just go kind of one last lingering thought. I'm going to start with you, Jim. How would you like to close it out and leave it with this session today?
Well, you gotta experience this. You gotta experience these guys. They're amazing. I'm telling you, it just brings something out of them like 1,000%. This is just the most amazing thing that I've ever seen. And like I said, I'm hooked on it every year now. And when the colonel invited me down again, I'm like, I'm there for you. You kidding me? Of course.
Amazing things for us.
Anybody that never seen the worry, I mean, look, in my opinion, this should be in every city in the United States. They should have leagues set up like this where these guys get to do this on a regular basis. If you would see wheelchair rugby, that is like the greatest sport I ever seen in my life. I'm not just saying this. That is the coolest sport. It makes our football and basketball and rugby look like kindergarten. I'm telling you, it's a tough. I know. You get knocked over upside down with these guys are crazy. He knows what I'm talking about. He's being real sorry, but this is one of the tough guys too, right here with the wheelchair rugby.
The quiet ones always are, right?
Yeah.
Still waters run deep.
So thank you, Jim. So Brian, what do you want to leave in the minds of folks as we wrap up our conversation today?
I mean, they say, if you build it, they will come. They've built it, and they keep building on it year after year. You're going to Tampa. Anybody ever complain about going to Tampa? I don't think so. So
Good point.
It's a good setup. Everything I've seen from what SOCOM's doing this year, I'm excited. I've told my teammates this is probably the first time in my tenure doing this that I've been excited. So I'm excited. Like Jesse Spano, so excited. I am excited to go. And anyone else is going to be there is going to enjoy themselves, guaranteed.
Fantastic. Thank you. DT.
I would just say, if you want to be inspired, you want to be motivated, you want to see the true spirit of the human body come to the games, because you will see amazing things. You'll see from guys missing limbs, running, to blind guys with missing limbs swimming. And so being able to see that and getting inspired and getting motivated, it's nothing like it. So come on out, watch it, and cheer on Team SOCOM because we're the team to beat.
Fantastic.
That's right.
Fantastic. Close us out, Colonel, with our last call.
Be
to action.
inspired is our motto. Our mantra is fans in the stands. It's get out there and see these Wounded Warriors compete. It's going to be amazing. If you can't make the trip, you do have the streaming option, but I'd rather have you fly to Tampa and be there because there's a couple components. One of the things that DT talked about was the family component. Meet the families, meet the athletes. If you get to a Warrior game or a Wounded Warrior event, if you can't make the Warrior games, get to know these folks, but also get to know their families. As DT was saying, they've borne a significant burden. They went through this crisis just as much as the Wounded Warrior did. Get to know them, get connected to them. As I said, we're trying to build the connection in the community to our Wounded Warriors. Warrior Games provides that platform. Come to the games, be inspired, watch them, learn and get to know the people.
Great. Thank you so much, Colonel. Thanks for closing that out. Now, I know we do have a couple questions. One has come in via Twitter, so I guess, here it is. Look at that. Fantastic. Gentlemen, first off, thank you for your service and sacrifice for our country. Of course, all of us here, thank you for that. Do you find the presence of the 5 branches to be a competitive push as well? All right. So you mentioned Team SOCOM.
Right.
The team to beat.
The team to beat. Well,
Even as a director of the
there's no
games,
bragging
I'm
going on,
neutral,
right.
but the team to beat.
Yes, there's always, it's a good feel, get to, do stuff, but it's also competitive. We'll talk smack to each other, but we're also cheering for each other. And it's a unique thing seeing that, but it does come competitive. But, the main reason for the Warrior Games is to just show people you can still enjoy life after an injury or a wound or an illness. But competitiveness, it's definitely there.
So, Brian, you're going to leave that unanswered? Team
No,
SOCOM,
I mean,
team to beat?
they are the hosts, and from what I've seen, is that this is the 5th year I've done it. Every time the hosts, they bring out some show ponies. So I'm curious to see what SOCOM's bringing this year, since it's the 5th year running. And I mean, I respect the competition. One thing I like about doing these media engagements and the press, though, is I'm able to talk to the other athletes. When we did it a few years ago, I was able to engage with some of the competitors that I've never spoke to because I didn't want to because they're my competitors.
Yeah.
And then I realized, hey, they're not that bad. So then we go to the competition and we're friendly bantering back and forth while my teammates absolutely despise them. I said, look, they're not that bad, man. Just calm down. Just because he's acting up on the court, he's still a person, so calm down. But it's friendly competition without a doubt. But SOCOM, looking forward to playing them at volleyball. They always bring it in volleyball without a doubt. We're not taking them lightly.
We know our limitations where we have sports that we're not so good at, so we accept our limitations. It's a dirty Harry rule. A man's got to know his limitations. So basketball, we usually cede to another team because we're not really the best at basketball. But seeded volleyball, we're coming for bear. And here's our show pony, by the way.
Awesome. I love it. The smack talk meters turned to 11. That's fantastic.
That's right.
All right, we have a couple questions in the audience.
Hi, thank you guys so much for being here. We have a question from our website, buildseries.com. How does the team-oriented aspect of Warrior Games differ from other programs that assist in returning back to service or transitioning back to civilian life?
Well, I think that you'd see that if you were to compare it to, say, the VA system, the Valor system, it's very similar. I'd say the difference is that because most of all of our Wounded Warriors are post 9/11 and tend to be, we only have so many years of eligibility with Warrior Games, they tend to be a lot more connected and have a more natural connection. So the recency of the injuries and the fact that they've served on battlefields closer together has a distinction between what you'd see in the more VA system or in sort of the National Amputee Championships, the other venues that are out there for the disabled. These guys, even if they're in different services or in different teams competitively, they've all been chewing the same dirt over the past few years and been in the same places and borne those same kind of similar burdens. So the connection is a lot deeper.
Do we have any other questions? Oh, another one. Fantastic. Hey, how are you?
Hi, guys. How are you guys? Thank you for your service, by the way. We have also another online question from our site, and it's what has been one of your favorite memories while participating in the games?
I think one of my favorite memories is when I God, that's actually a tough one. Actually, this one kid had seen me compete, a friend of my competitor, she's in the Army, and he wanted to meet me so bad, because he's heard of me, he's seen me, and she's like, hey, can my son come say hi to you? So, of course. And this little kid came jumping up and down, and can I take a picture? Can you sign this for me? I was like, but I'm nobody, dude. It's like, why are you so excited? But, seeing that kid be so happy to meet me was probably one of the top moments. And unfortunately, that same kid just recently, Memorial Day, drowned. And that's why I'm going to dedicate my wins, my goal, if I win, to him, because it impacted me a lot. Him being so excited, and my Army teammate losing her child, and so that is probably one of the greatest memories I'll have.
Thank you.
Brian?
It's hard to top that.
It's a hard.
No, I mean, listening to DT talk just made me think about, because I told you this is my 5th year, so why do I keep doing it? I mean, don't know who you're going to affect and who you're going to inspire. By my 3rd year doing it, it was a different, something different happened before, because I was a military instructor, and I went away for 2 weeks to go do the games in Chicago. And when I came back, my students had saw me through the streaming and all that, and the way they broadcasted it. I didn't tell them nothing, but they were just in awe, because before they just knew me as their instructor, but now they're like, we didn't know you were capable of doing any of that. So now that's what they wanted to talk to me about and instruct conversations, and doing that at an early stage of their career is just good, beneficial, because who knows what that will eventually do later on in life. So, just listen to DT talk about that. That's it. Other than this was cool. That's probably the one thing that's why I continue doing it. Just you don't know who's it gonna trigger at the end.
Fantastic.
I got one if you got time.
Yeah, sure.
The 2017 games in Chicago, one of our archers, we actually had 2 Green Berets from Team SOCOM in the gold medal shoot-off. They had both hit 29s, so 10 arrows, all of them hitting the center X, except for one. And you got to see how tight that bullseye is, by the way, and from the distance they're firing the arrows. They were doing a shoot-off, the 2 Green Berets. One of them, though, had been really training himself. His disabilities had taken him out of working. But he wanted to, for his kids' sake, wanted to show them that he had a work ethic. So his training for his archery became his job. And so he had a battle rhythm to his life, where every day, get up, did breakfast, did that, got the kids ready for school, but they also saw him get up and had a routine for doing his training for his archery. So now he's in the Chicago games after all that hard work, and he is in a shoot-off. And he hits that, fires it. By the way, the decision was made by a millimeter. That's how tight these 2 did. So one got gold, one got silver. This particular gentleman, Sergeant First Class, who's very dear to me. He's almost like another son to me. Hits that. I was sitting with his children and with his wife when that happened. And the reaction of his son in particular to his dad winning this, and the way that it all made us feel. And I grabbed his little boy and said, you get down there and hug your dad. This is why he works so hard. This is what it's all about. You'll get a lump in your throat. I tell you, come to Warrior Games. There are moments like that. I've seen times when a little girl has run out and jumped in her dad's lap, who's wheelchair bound after he's won a medal in a sport, but even after he's just competed. You'll see those kind of moments, and you will be touched, and you will know how deeply these games impact our people.
Well, I don't think we could end on a better note than that. So I want to thank everybody for being on our panel today, for coming up, being part of this really amazing and inspirational build. And I think I'm inspired, and I hope that all of you have been watching, you will also be inspired and participate in the Warrior Games, whether being there in person or attending the live stream or watching, however it may be, some of the recaps. So Thank you again, everybody. Thank you for being
Thank
here
you.
today.
Thanks.